So I wanted to do a lion project for my mom. That's her favorite animal. She especially likes Aslan from the Chronicles of Narnia, so a lot of this is based off of him. I started by doing a lot of measurements and placing pins, so I'd have a rough idea of where everything needed to be. Whenever you're doing something 2D, it's good to place pins and use a marker and try to get a rough estimate of where you want to place everything. That way you know it'll be the right proportions and you have enough supplies to do the whole thing. I'm really happy with how the eyes turned out. Lions' eyes are very intense, and so it's hard to get that realistic look to them, especially with something like fiber, but I think they turned out really well in the end. You can see that I'm starting with the green. I actually ended up changing that later, but you'll see. I gave this to her for Mother's Day and her birthday. They're really close by to each other, so I ended up doing it as one big gift. This is still me trying to get a rough estimate. I just did a thin line of fiber around it so I knew everything would size up right. That's one of the nice things about fiber is you can just do like small amounts and it's not a big deal if you don't like where they are because you can just work on top of it. Kind of like painting, but almost easier to work with if you ask me. That's where I take the eyes out. I actually tried to leave most of the outline, but ended up taking out a lot of that as well. And I resized them, made them smaller, so they look a lot more realistic here. You can already tell that there's a huge difference. The nose was also really hard. I wanted to layer it so that it would look like a real animal. Have that kind of 3D look of the nose being further forward than the rest of the face. And I think it turned out well. The layering of the fiber really helped. Especially since you had to put a little on top of the eyes to try to get that look to where he was really looking at you. I did some layering with the mane too. I had the brown on the bottom and then did the lighter colors, the tans and yellows on top. And that also really helped make him look more realistic. The mane was a lot of fun. I tried to make it look pretty natural and flowing, but it was hard to find a balance between making it look flowing and it still sticking to the project. So you see me go back over it a lot. This was pretty different from doing the courthouse. The courthouse I could actually go to it and see it in person and get a good idea of how it looked, but I didn't have a real lion nearby, so it was a lot harder to get an idea. I did a lot of picture referencing and found tons of pictures to try to look at and get a good idea. I tried to keep with the layering and do the dark on top and light on bottom. Getting those little dots was pretty difficult. Anytime you're working with a really small amount of fiber, it tends to want to go straight through the project and not really stick to it. So I went over them a lot of times to get them to stick, and I'm really happy with how the whole thing turned out. That's it finished, and it looked really good. I gave it to Mom this past weekend, and she loved it. Thank y'all for watching. Please remember to like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment if you have any questions. Oh, and I have an Instagram and a Facebook I'll leave a link to in the description. Bye!